Yo, welcome back to the MMA Fight Round. It is your boy Chris. Thanks for tuning in. If you are new, I'm back with another picks and predictions video, this time for UFC 300. All right, guys, the card we all been waiting for. Let's break it down. Starting off with the prelims. Cody Garbrandt taking on Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, Figgy, this will be his second fight at bantamweight, and you would think that they would have matched him up with someone, who didn't just get destroyed by Rob Font, right? But they are doing just that, and I don't know the logic here. I'm trying to make the case for Cody Garbrandt because he's built a little bit of momentum recently, those wins over, Brian Kelleher. And but I can't. Deiveson Figueiredo is going to be the pick here for me. He just outclassed Rob Font for 3 rounds, in my opinion. And, Deiveson Figueiredo is going to be faster here. The power clearly has transitioned over from flyweight to bantamweight. We saw him rocking Rob Font, hitting him with some hard shots. And I know the Rob Font that beat Cody Garbrandt was 3 years younger than the Rob Font that fought Deiveson Figueiredo. Took much more damage now. But I think if you match up Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt again, it's going to be a close fight once again. Whereas the difference here was Deiveson Figueiredo, like I said, was outclassing the dude. So yeah, man, odd matchup here, but I see that why they did it. Former champions going up against each other. So it's going to be close only if Cody could take a punch. And we know that chin is not reliable when it's against high level competition. He's taking on guys like Brian Kelleher and I don't rate those wins highly, especially when you're going up against a guy like Deiveson Figueiredo, former champion, just had a win over, Rob Font, who, like I said, outclassed him. So I can't go with Cody Garbrandt in this one. I gotta pick Deiveson Figueiredo. I think he's going to get a finish here. If not a finish, he should do enough to convince the judges to win this one on damage by decision. So Deiveson Figueiredo is the pick here by finish or by decision. Next fight we got Jim Miller taking on Bobby Green. All right, tough fight to call here. Does Jim Miller get a win on UFC 100, 200, and 300? Because that would be like, as a fan of this sport, that would just be amazing to watch. But Bobby Green, we know, just came off probably one of the worst performances of his career, where he was doing too much yapping, too much showboating, and not enough fighting. And he might have a little chip on his shoulder because of that. But he did get knocked out bad. And not only did he get knocked out bad, but he was eating some unnecessary shots in that fight. We all thought that, as a fan of this sport, I thought that the fight could have been called a little bit sooner, especially, him being 37 now. He got knocked out real bad by Jalin Turner, man. And we'll be talking about him soon, but Jalin Turner's a bad man, dude. That was crazy. Now, is Jim Miller going to knock him out the same way? I don't think so. That was, huge height and reach disadvantage, short notice replacement. All the odds were against Bobby Green in that fight. He does have a better chance here against Jim Miller. Jim Miller, though, has been building a momentum himself lately. He's been knocking out newcomers, taking on all opponents. He's not saying no to nobody. And, to be working finishes in your 40s now, I think it's just, as a fan of the sport, like I said, it's amazing to see, because I count out these guys who are this age and still fighting. I just don't think that they should be. But Jim Miller is the guy. And I said it in his last fight against Mowgli, Gabriel Benitez. I picked him to win. He's that guy who's the only one that's convinced me that you can really fight at that age, because he's doing it, and he's doing it at lightweight. This is the toughest weight class, and now he's getting a good chance here to, you know, really prove that what he's been doing is not just working against these newcomers, but it can also get it done against these veterans. Now, Bobby Green is hittable. He's very hittable. He fights with his hands down, and he did a lot of showboating in his last one. He does showboat in majority of his fights. And, you know, against Nasrat Haqparast, where he was at a height and reach advantage, the showboating and fighting the way he does, he just was not intimidated by Nasrat. I think he fought that fight knowing that he felt like Nasrat was not going to be able to knock him out. And he ate some shots. He ate some shots in the process, but he was able to outstrike Nasrat. He used a lot of his footwork and head movement in that fight. So he's proven, you know, he can get it done against top level. And, you know, Nasrat on a recent win streak himself, that win, like I said, has grown very well in his career, as well as the knockout against Grant Dawson. That was crazy. You know, Grant Dawson, I don't know, that chin of Grant Dawson might be questionable, because he literally just finished him with one punch, and we haven't seen that out of Bobby Green. I don't know if we've ever seen that out of Bobby Green in the UFC. So that was kind of crazy. And then he goes out there and gets brutally knocked out by Jalin Turner. Man, I honestly would have loved to see how he would have dealt with the takedowns by Grant Dawson, or the wrestling approach by Grant Dawson, because we would have gotten a better reading on how he's going to deal with the grappling of Jim Miller in this fight. But that fight played out only like a few seconds. And Jalin Turner is a way high level, you know, just a completely different striker when it comes to striking, in terms of trying to compare him to Jim Miller. This is a tough fight to call here. But I got to go with Jim Miller, man. The dog, I think it's just destined to be, man. 100, 200, and 300. He's going to get it done. He's got the grappling advantage in this fight, in my opinion. And, you know, if he does get a takedown away from the cage, gets the takedown in the center, Bobby Green will be in some trouble. I do think that, you know, Bobby Green gives up his back and tries, you know, kind of like a Derek Lewis, I'm just going to get up defense when it comes to trying to get up. And that's put him in some bad positions. We saw him get submitted against Islam Makhachev. And Jim Miller's jiu-jitsu is world class. His jiu-jitsu is world class. So I got to go with Jim Miller here. I do think that he's going to have to eat some shots by Bobby Green, because he's at a height and reach disadvantage. So, you know, in the process, though, that chin of Bobby Green, we know, has now been destroyed, in my opinion. So could Jim Miller land a clean shot? I do think so as well. So I got to go Jim Miller here by decision or by finish. And I think he could get it done by submission or by knockout, man. I'm high on Jim Miller in this fight. Overall, I do think he can get this one done, man. It's a tough fight for him, but both of them are proven. I just think Jim Miller's going to get this one done, man. This is the right test for Jim Miller. Next fight, we're going to go, it's Marina Rodriguez taking on Jessica Andrade. All right. These two trained together for a long time. They never had any intention of fighting each other. So, I mean, unless it had title implications to it. So these two might not go full throttle against each other. We got to be mindful of that. You know, they're very good friends. And Marina is coming off that knockout against Michelle Waterson. And we know she's proven it time and time again. She's a phenomenal striker. All right. She's a phenomenal striker. But it's when she gets taken down and controlled that she loses her fights. We saw that against Virna Jandiroba. Virna was able to control her for 12 out of the 15 minutes in that fight, man. And that's just not a good look, all right? When you can't find the way up from bottom, it's terrible. And granted, Virna Jandiroba can do just that for 15 minutes. And she's got great cardio. We saw that against Lupi. Virna Jandiroba is a problem at that weight class, all right? So Jessica Andrade, she hasn't shot a takedown since her fight against Erin Blanchfield. She's been preferring the striking lately, and you know, granted, it got it done against Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern still, I mean, we know the striking of Mackenzie Dern is just not there, all right? And then on top of that, she can't get a takedown to save her life. So as world class as Mackenzie Dern is on the ground, if she can't get the fight to the ground, she's one-dimensional, right? So I think this is striker versus grappler here, in a little bit of the sense, because I think Jessica Andrade, she does win majority of her fights by grounding and pounding, and she slammed Rose Namajunas, knocked her out, and you know, that's cool, you know, and that's how she can win her fight. But she has been, like I said, distancing herself from that. She's been preferring the striking lately, and granted, it's again tough. It's against tough opponents, but you know, she's just getting finished out there. I think Marina Rodriguez wins this fight if it stays on the feet, and Jessica Andrade's best chance is by trying to control Marina Rodriguez for the entire fight. Could that happen? I don't know, because I don't know if Jessica Andrade has the cardio to do that for 15 minutes. And the way she fights, you know, just always chasing a finish, but then we know that, you know, they're kind of friends. This is odd for me. I gotta go Marina Rodriguez though. I think Marina Rodriguez is going to be aware that Jessica Andrade, you know, with how much they've trained together, I think she's aware that she's gonna have the striking advantage in this fight. She's aware that her best chance is to get her down. So the takedown defense of Marina Rodriguez has failed before, and it could fail her on UFC 300, but I'm counting on it. And I'm counting on her striking. I think she's just gotta use her volume. If this fight is going to play out where they are a little friendly, Marina Rodriguez has that advantage in the striking. She can just outpoint her for the entire fight. Avoid the takedowns, keep this fight standing, and just point fight for 3 rounds. That's probably what we're gonna see. And I gotta go Marina Rodriguez by decision. Next fight, we got Jalin Turner taking on Renato Moicano, man. Striker versus grappler, officially, all right? Moicano was able to get it done with the grappling against Drew Dober, and Turner flatlined Bobby Green, all right? Just on short notice as well. And he made weight. All these questions about him being at that height, and I mean, he is kind of weight bullying the weight class, right? But he's able to get it done, all right? And now he's had even more time to cut the weight for this fight. So I'm not really questioning if he's gonna make weight again. And we know these two, they're pretty much considered veterans of the sport now. Moicano, the grappling is on another level. 10 wins in the UFC, 6 by submission. Jalin Turner, 7 wins in the UFC, 4 by knockout. And all of his wins have been by finish. So those other 3 were by submission. The best comparison we have for this fight was Garbrandt versus Jalin Turner, in my opinion. And I think it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work for Garbrandt to control Jalin Turner over the course of that fight. He got 4 out of 12 takedowns, and he was able to secure the win there by split. This fight is going to come down to, you know, who can get their game plan first, because I think that if Moicano gets those same takedowns that Garbrandt did, Moicano's a jiu-jitsu expert, all right? His control game, I rate it higher than Gamrot's. He's also a little bit taller than Garbrandt. Might pack on a bit more size. So that's going to help him here. We know that Jalin Turner, obviously, he's going to have the height and reach over a majority of his opponents in this weight class, and he does have that here. Those legs, he's hard to control, but if you do get him down, and if you get him down in the center of the cage, it's one of those things where Moicano's going to be heavy on top, and he's going to be a problem, man. He's going to be chasing submissions. Garbrandt preferred position over submission in that fight, and you know, that was working out for him. But Moicano's going to be looking for submissions, looking for more ground and pound, in my opinion. I just think that Moicano chases the finish a bit more than Garbrandt in his fights. And, you know, we've seen that. 6 submission wins out of his 10 wins in the UFC. So it's proven in the stats. And like I said, this fight's going to come down to who can get their game plan first. If Moicano gets these takedowns, we know it's going to be a wrap. Jalin Turner, as Moicano is getting these takedowns, his power is going to wear down. And we saw that against Garbrandt as well. His shots were starting to become a little bit more labored in the second round, a little bit more, even more labored in the third round. And you know, he did land some hard ones throughout every round. He did, you know, clock Garbrandt for sure. Can he knock out Moicano? Absolutely. All right. But I just think that Moicano has chances here where he just has to, you know, avoid the kicking game of Jalin Turner, fight in the pocket, which is asking a lot, you know, of any fighter when they're going up against Jalin Turner. I understand, but we saw him do that against Drew Dober. Drew Dober has knockout power, man. We know that. And Moicano left it all in there. He took some shots in that first round, and he was able to get the grappling going. I think we're going to see at least something similar of the same. And if Moicano can do that for 3 rounds, that's really the question here. Can he do what he did against Drew Dober to Jalin Turner for 3 rounds? This fight's a little bit quicker notice. I mean, kind of short notice for Moicano because he just came off that win against Drew Dober. But I don't think he would take this fight if he wasn't healthy. And he admitted that he had staph infection after the win. He wasn't one of those guys who will make excuses for himself if he would have lost. He said it himself that, you know, he was dealing with staph, so he wasn't even 100% for that fight. Could we see an even better grappler in this one? And that's what I'm counting on. I think Moicano can get this one done, man. I'm gonna go with the dog money Moicano to get this one done by submission. I know Jalin Turner is going to be a problem in that first round, and that is where I think I'm going to be shaking in my boots. You know what I mean? Jalin Turner, his first rounds are dangerous. He's got, you know, they're going to be dry, full stamina, and I'm counting on Moicano to really just not be intimidated by Turner and just shoot for those legs, man. If he can get a double leg fast in this fight, avoid a flying knee, because we know that that might come, then I do think that he can get more Turner down quickly, man. We've seen, you know, Garbrandt, it was harder for him to control him, but as I said, The jiu-jitsu game of Moicano, I rate it higher than Gamrot's. The submission over position that Moicano preferences, I think he's going to be able to submit Turner where Gamrot had him in those same positions. And they're both at an American top team, Gamrot and Moicano. So good guy to learn from when it comes to taking on Jalin Turner. I think I got to go with Moicano in this one. The dogs are going to be barking on UFC 300, man. Money Moicano to get this one done by submission. All right, next fight. We got Sodiq Yusuff taking on Diego Lopes. Now, another extremely tough fight to call here, man. Lopes getting a big step up in competition. And granted, you know, he has been running through these guys who are not ranked. So, I mean, he's not even making it look close. He's getting it done in the first round, and I think he's earned a step up. I think he's earned a step up in competition. He's an amazing grappler, but he's never intimidated to strike. We saw him just finish Pat Sabatini with a knockout. I mean, that was like that fight only lasted like 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I mean, the hands are only getting better. That Lobo gym is crazy. And there's no denying that I think his greater strengths are in the grappling. We saw that, I mean, anyone who can grapple Mozart for 3 rounds and fight Mozart for 3 rounds. One, that tells you you've got great cardio, and we just know that he's just in that fight. We saw what we saw out of Diego Lopes was that he's never going to quit on himself. He's never going to quit on himself. He's got that mentality that you got to knock him out or you got to finish this guy. He's going to just keep on coming. And as a fan of this sport, I think that's why he's grown such a huge fan base. I love to see that, man. That's what you need. That's the perfect mentality that, you know, that's the mentality that builds champions, you know. And I think Diego Lopes is a rising star in the UFC for sure. And he's proven that, you know. So Sodiq Yusuff here, that's the thing. Sodiq Yusuff, he's yet to ever be finished in the UFC. He's by submission or knockout. And he has knockout power. You know, he almost had Edson Barboza out of there in the first round, guys. Let's be honest. If he had just pushed the gas a little bit more in that fight, he would have had Edson out of there. And, you know, it's just something that when you go up against a veteran striker like Edson Barboza for 3 rounds, you're going to learn from it. He's only 30 years old. We could see an even better version out of Sodiq Yusuff in this fight. Now, my problem with Sodiq Yusuff is he's getting taken down by everybody, man. Everybody. We're talking about strikers taking him down. Edson Barboza took him down in the later rounds of that fight. He got 3 takedowns on him here, okay? Arnold Allen got 2 takedowns on him. Alex Caceres, all right? Karate Kid got a takedown on Sodiq Yusuff. And that just spells trouble for this matchup here, because all those that I just named, I don't think they have the grappling pressure that Diego Lopes is going to bring. He's young. He's ready to get I mean, he's always chasing a finish in his fights. Man, I just think Lopes has more ways to win here, honestly. And he's got a decent chin. He has the grappling advantage. I think Lopes wins this one by decision or submission, guys. He's got a lot of momentum riding into this fight. I said it earlier, you know, he's never going to quit on himself. And he's got, if he doesn't get knocked out, I think he wins this fight. I think that's the only way I see Sodiq winning this fight. Sodiq can knock him out, though. All right, let's not take that for granted. I think Sodiq can knock him out. This is by far the best striker that Diego Lopes will have faced in his career. And, you know, he's got 6 losses already. on his record. You know, he definitely had some hard times on the way up. We saw Joanderson Brito, if you guys rewind back to his Contender Series fight against Joanderson Brito, he had some success in the striking against Diego Lopes as well. So, you know, Sodiq Yusuff, he's definitely proven in the striking. And if this fight stays on the feet, he's live. He's live here for sure. That's why this fight's tough to pick. But I just think that Diego Lopes, when he's going to be in trouble, he's going to be shooting takedowns, and he's going to get those takedowns. So I don't see Sodiq winning this fight by decision. He's going to have to knock out Diego Lopes. I'm going to go Diego Lopes by submission or by decision. Next fight, we got Holm taking on Kayla Harrison. Now, Kayla Harrison making her debut, coming out of PFL, and watching her PFL fights, obviously judo specialist, she's got that ground game, she's a wrestler, she's dominant when she's in top position. Majority of her fights played out at featherweight. I think all of them did. I don't think she's ever made bantamweight. That's the huge question coming into this fight. But we're talking about an athlete here, and a former Olympic athlete. I think weight cuts, she takes them seriously. I think she knows that if she misses weight, Holm is not going to take the fight. She's already expressed that. So Kayla Harrison, I'm not questioning her weight cut issues coming into this one. In my opinion, she's going to be a professional. Another thing that I noticed in the PFL is in her fights, she was not able to use elbows. All right. And when you're in top position, such a dominant position like that she had in majority of her fights, she was not able to use elbows. That's kind of crazy. I feel like the PFL, you know, a little suspect why they have that rule. She's going to be able to use elbows in this fight, and that could change how she looks when she does get a takedown. The question really is here is Holm going to be able to deal with the young forward pressure that Kayla Harrison is going to bring? I think Holm, you know, we've seen her time and time again. She's a striker, very proven striker. She's hard to take down, 78% takedown defense. But man, I just think that she's at a huge disadvantage here with the age. And the youth is I'm gonna be a little biased here with the age pick here. I just think that the youth is going to play a huge role here. I know that Kayla Harrison, this is by far, you know, her toughest opponent. And we've seen Kayla Harrison lose before, all right? But I got to go with Kayla Harrison in this fight. I think she is going to get those takedowns. She is going to be at a strength advantage in this fight. And like I said, those elbows now that she can use, man, she can be very dominant now in the UFC when she does get that top position. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. Maybe she gets a finish in this fight, or she just lays and prays it out for a decision win. You know, I do think she can do that. And for Holm, she's gonna have to work a lot when she does get taken down. If she can keep this fight standing, she has a huge chance. But Kayla Harrison is you know, we've seen her get the takedown in majority of her fights. I just think that's exactly what's going to play out here, man. I got to go Kayla Harrison by finish or by decision. That's my pick, man. She's going to get a win in her debut. Next fight, we got Calvin Kattar taking on Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling making that move up to featherweight. Former champion, dominant wrestler. And the striking, there's a lot to be desired there. We saw him get brutally knocked out by Sean O'Malley, and you know, he didn't get the chance of a champion in my opinion. He wasn't granted that time. I do think that the fight was called a little bit soon, but it is what it is. You know, maybe he was just going to eat some more bad shots, and he felt that he wasn't out. I don't know. Could that have played out differently had the ref not called the fight? Who knows? We'll never know. As far as we know, he lost that fight and he got hurt bad, all right? That's his fault, you know? He was there to be hit, and Sean O'Malley took advantage of the opportunity. Calvin Kattar, Sean O'Malley, two different strikers in my opinion, all right? Calvin Kattar, more of a boxer. He's looking to, I don't think he ever really overextends himself much. You know, he's a clean striker, and he's going to be hard to take down. That's why he is hard to take down, because he doesn't overextend himself much. Aljamain Sterling is going to have to maybe eat some shots to get in on the inside and work his wrestling game. I think this is another striker versus grappler matchup here. We've seen Aljamain be very, very crafty. We've seen him. I just think he has a very good game plan every fight. I mean, that fight against Corey Sandhagen showed it all. Everyone kind of written him off, had him written off. You know, Corey Sandhagen, they thought he was just going in there. I thought it, you know, myself, I thought Corey Sandhagen was going to be able to deal with that matchup very well. But he had a game plan for him, man, and he took his back pretty damn fast in that fight. Calvin Kattar has not dealt with a wrestler of this caliber who has this good of a jiu-jitsu game. And Aljamain is, you know, former champion. It's time to respect the man. You know, it's what he's done is very well. He's proven himself, man. Going up against Peter Yan in that second fight, although it was close, I think I did have him winning that fight by decision. So he showed a lot of improvement. He has shown improvement, and I do see him getting his wrestling game in this fight, man. I think he's gonna have to, like I said, get on the inside, avoid the crisp boxing that is Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar, like I said, he's really good boxer. He's not gonna overextend himself. That's why he's hard to take down. But kicking game, I don't think will be. Aljamain's gonna have to worry too much about that, and that's also a problem because he's not gonna be able to catch a leg. But I do think that Aljamain is gonna work his wrestling game. It's gonna make it. That's gonna make Calvin Kattar a lot more tired. It's gonna make Calvin Kattar's shots a lot more labored. And Aljamain Sterling, I think he's gonna do enough in those first 2 rounds to force Calvin Kattar to have to get a knockout. And, you know, I see him maybe even getting a submission finish in this fight too. I mean, like I said, he's got good game plans. I got to go Aljamain Sterling to win this one. I think he is going to get it done by submission or decision. I don't think Calvin Kattar has faced a grappler of this caliber, in my opinion, and that's why I'm favoring Aljamain Sterling to get that one done. Next fight, Jiří Procházka taking on Aleksandar Rakić. Man, another really tough fight to call. 2 guys who were known as pretty much the dark horses of this weight class, and now they're going up against each other. But it's really hard to build the case for Aleksandar. I mean, he's had a long layoff, man. A long layoff. And in his last outing, he didn't look like the dark horse of the weight class. You know, he lost that first round, in my opinion, to Jan Blachowicz. And now we can justify that, the reason why he had that close fight against Volkan Ozdemir. You know, a lot of people felt that he won that fight But it's a close fight with Volkan Ozdemir because the striking, I do think the striking defense needs some work for Jiří Procházka. And if people like Jan Blachowicz, who uses a lot of fundamentals and he did use a lot of fundamental striking in that fight to win that first round. Now he's taking on a guy like Jiří Procházka who uses no fundamentals, man. This guy will hit you from every which way position he possibly can. He is a crafty striker. He is unorthodox, and man, he just came off a fight. I mean, he just had a big surgery himself, but he already had his return fight, you know. And granted, he didn't go too well for him. He got knocked out by Alex Pereira, but I think those first fight jitters, coming back off the big surgery, he's been able to shake him off already, you know. And now he's got a chip on his shoulder because not only is he able to, you know, say that part's finished, I'm already back in the UFC, my surgery's done, but he lost. So that chip on his shoulder mentality, and Jiří Procházka, he's crafty, man. We know that he's unorthodox. I think he can knock you out from various ways. We saw him knock out Volkan Ozdemir, didn't even make it look close. All right. And like I said, man, I just think it's really hard to build a case here for Aleksandar Rakić, being that he's had that long layoff. I do think he has a wrestling advantage here. Is he going to want to lay and pray for 15 minutes? Can he do that? You know, Glover Teixeira had some success against Jiří Procházka. He got 5 takedowns over the course of 5 rounds. But Jiří Procházka's crafty, man. He's crafty. He's tough to deal with. I think he's going to be tough to deal with, tough to keep on bottom. And I think he just already shook off those first fight jitters coming back from the big injury. I think it's Jiří Procházka all the way here, man. I got to go with the dog, Jiří Procházka. I think he's going to get a finish in this fight. The striking advantage, in terms of not fundamentals, but in terms of just being unorthodox, I think he's got a striking advantage there, man. He's going to catch Aleksandar Rakić with shots that he might not even see coming. And those are the shots that knock you out. So Rakić, he's going to be using a lot of fundamentals, you know, getting back to the basics. First fight in a long time. I do see him shooting for takedowns. I think he's going to be shooting for takedowns right off the bell. But Jiří's crafty. Jiří's unorthodox, and I gotta go with the guy who is like I said, just it's hard. It's hard to pick Rakić here. I can't go Rakić in this fight because we haven't seen him in such a long time, and when the last time we did see him, he was already starting to show us that he really isn't the guy that we all thought he was. So Jiří Procházka is the pick here. I think he's gonna bounce back and get a finish here against Aleksandar Rakić. Next fight, we got Bo Nickal taking on Cody Brundage. Wow. I'm not gonna waste too much time on this one, man. Bo Nickal, we know, is a prospect and not too many fights on his record. That's why they're putting him up against Cody Brundage. They wanna build him up well. And you can say he's kind of getting that Sean O'Malley treatment, right? But I don't know. I just think, you know, not too many fights on his record. A guy like Cody Brundage, this is a right matchup for him, in my opinion, but it's just not the right place to put it, right? It is what it is. Cody Brundage is kind of like the sacrificial lamb of this card. I mean, I think his best chance is first round. His best chance is the first round. His best chance in every fight is the first round. All right. This is no coincidence here. This is not, I'm not, telling you guys anything new. Cody Brundage is tired after every first round. Cody Brundage loses. He just doesn't know how to manage that cardio. Doesn't know how to go the full 15. And I do think even if he does, land some shots or win even the first round, I do see him losing this fight regardless, man. I gotta go Bo Nickal here. Bo Nickal has not shown me that he can't take on a guy like Cody Brundage. I do think, despite the record not saying much, Cody Brundage hasn't shown us much. So I do think that Bo Nickal can go the full 15 as well. He's a proven wrestler. I gotta go with the guy. Bo Nickal, the prospect. I think he's gonna get a win here. It's a set up fight, man. I ain't betting on it. They definitely didn't give us the chance to. I mean, Bo Nickal's probably gonna be a minus 1,000 until he gets a serious opponent. But yeah, it is what it is. Bo Nickal's the pick. Charles Oliveira taking on Arman Tsarukyan, guys. Tough fight, man. Arman Tsarukyan has proven himself, man. I think he's championship caliber. I see him winning a belt one day. It's hard to count him out against anyone, really. I mean, his only closest fight was against Garbrandt, and I thought he won that fight, man. I really thought he won that fight on damage. There was a lot of grappling, yes, but on damage, I thought he won that fight. And judging fights how we judge now, which, I don't know, it's not consistent. It's far from consistent. But maybe if they ran that fight back and we judged it how we judge fights now, they might raise Arman Tsarukyan's hand in that one. But it is what it is. He lost that fight. Charles Oliveira's lost his fair share of fights, man. And man, this is tough. Charles Oliveira's got knockout power, submission game. He's a threat off his back. That was not the case against Islam Makhachev, when Makhachev shows position over submission and just was able to dominate him. I just think Arman Tsarukyan can replicate that, Arman Tsarukyan knows that he should not be in any type of submission exchanges with Charles Oliveira, because he's just not going to win that battle. As far as striking, Arman Tsarukyan has definitely got knockout power. They both do. I think they will test each other in the striking very well. Charles Oliveira, he's eating some shots. He's eating some bad shots. And Justin Gaethje and those other guys who have hit him, they don't force the grappling after. Arman Tsarukyan won't mind to, because like I said, he's gonna be hard to submit, and he's gonna choose position over submission. I do think he can club and sub. Oh, it's crazy I'm saying this, man. I'm not gonna say that. I gotta go Arman Tsarukyan. I don't know how he's gonna win this fight, but I do think he's proven enough, man. I don't think that anyone else other than Islam Makhachev is going to give this guy a really tough test. And it's because he can resort to other ways when it comes to how the fight's going. And like, if it's not getting the striking advantage, he can grapple in this fight. And he doesn't need to fear getting submitted, because he's got a very strong top position. And Charles has struggled with that, you know. So, you know, does Charles have a better game plan for that? We could see that. And I would love to see Charles Oliveira win this one, man. It's, as a fan, you know, like my heart wants Charles to win, but my head is telling me to pick Arman. All right, so I think Arman Tsarukyan is gonna get this one done. We could talk about this fight forever. I think we could talk about all these fights forever. They deserve their own video, but and I might leave some details out. It is what it is. We could keep going. Might do a live stream about these fights with Pick'em MMA. So we shall see. You know, maybe we'll break down these fights a little bit more. But I just think that Arman Tsarukyan by decision. I think he's got more ways to win this fight, which is just crazy for me to say. And you can make the same case for Charles Oliveira. It's ridiculous. So, in a nutshell, I gotta go Arman Tsarukyan by decision. Next fight, Max Holloway taking on Justin Gaethje. Another one where you can make the case for either one of these guys. Man, this is an extremely tough fight to call. Did Max Holloway take the proper time to, you know, put on the right muscle and everything? He said it. He said that he did. He said he's put on 15 pounds, all right, of muscle for this fight. He's had a lot of preparation for this fight. You know, he claimed that he didn't have enough for Dustin Poirier. And we know Max Holloway is one of those cardio kings. He can fight until that last round. And we know, I mean, that's how he wins majority of his fights. He outvolumes every single one of his opponents. He doesn't really win by finish. He'll just win you by just outclassing you. He just outclasses him. Everyone that he's in there with when it's his way, because of that volume, because he's able to put up with the shots. He's able to handle some tough shots. We've seen Holloway not get dropped, and he's eating some tough shots, man. Volkanovski, if you rewind back, Volkanovski was having a lot of success with the calf kicks. Volkanovski was able to mix it up. And Volkanovski was at a height and reach disadvantage in that fight, man. And Holloway, he wasn't using his range very well. I think he was less intimidated by Volkanovski's power than Justin Gaethje, right? We can obviously say that. But I don't know how he's going to deal with the calf kicks from Justin Gaethje, because Justin Gaethje's calf kicks are on another level when it comes to trying to compare them to Volkanovski's. And we know Justin Gaethje, another guy who can take a shot, but, you know, he is very hittable. He is very hittable, all right? And if this fight was 5 rounds, I feel like I'd be picking Max all the way here. But it's 3 rounds. Justin Gaethje's hittable. He's got knockout power, though. He's got those strong calf kicks. This fight will not play out on the ground, guys. We know that. Man. If this fight's not playing out on the ground, and you just giving Justin Gaethje, a guy with that much knockout power, that much time to finish you, man. Oh man. Holloway's gonna have to eat some shots coming from a guy who not many people have been able to eat shots from. And he's gonna have to, as for Holloway, he's gonna have to either eat shots or not, or have the defense awareness to not be hit, and be there and be able to be aggressive and out volume like he does. Man, this is so hard to call. I just gotta go another one where my heart is telling me Max, but my head is telling me Justin, man. I got to go Justin Gaethje. I think he's going to have 15 minutes to really put it on Max. And same thing for Max, man. He's going to have... Wow, man, this is... Like I said, man, you can make the case for either one of these guys. But I got to go Justin Gaethje. I think he's going to get the knockout. First finished for Max Holloway. First knockout finish for Max Holloway. I think that's what we're going to see in UFC 300. Justin Gaethje is the pick here. Next fight. Co-main event. Zhang Weili taking on Xiaonan. The battle of who's China's best. And guys, no one's stopping Weili. I don't see anyone beating Weili anytime soon. All right, I'm being a little biased here with this pick, but I just, from what I've seen, this is a girl who came into the UFC. She was known for knockout power, being vicious with her striking. And now we're seeing her use Khabib style wrestling. All right, she's putting people in crucifixes and finishing them up with elbows, and they're all vicious, and she's dominant on top. I mean, this girl is getting it done. She's well-rounded. She's got cardio for days. Man, she's a problem. She's a huge problem. I think she's one of the better women's fighting in this whole promotion. You know, Zhang Weili is the number one fighter, in my opinion, of this whole promotion. I think, especially now that Nunes left, Shevchenko's kind of been falling off, and Grasso having a hard time convincing us that she can, finish Shevchenko. So, yeah, man, I do think that Zhang Weili is the number one right now, and obviously bantamweight. Let's not even go there. So, yeah, Yan Xiaonan, obviously she's tough. I think she's earned herself a title shot here, and for sure she's going to be a problem on the feet. We've seen her wrestle as well. I just don't know. I just don't see nobody beating Zhang Weili, man. Maybe I'm being a little biased here, but we know exactly how she can win. She even has more ways to win. And Zhang Weili is the pick here. I think she's going to be hard to beat. I don't see anybody beating her right now, man. Main event. Jamal Hill taking on Alex Pereira. Now, another fight that we could talk about forever, but I got to keep this one short, and I'm going to try, right? But Alex Pereira, he's got that death touch. His resume is proven now, right? I mean, this guy, not too many fights in the UFC, but he's beaten, look at this. Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland. We're talking about guys who all held the belt. So, and I know Strickland wasn't a champion at the time that he beat him. He went on to become champion. But, yeah, man. Formidable opponents, for sure. So, he's taking on Jamal Hill. And Jamal Hill, another guy. More fights he's had definitely more fights in the UFC, but not too many, not too many. And formidable opponents, for sure. Talking about guys like Glover Teixeira, Thiago Santos, and Johnny Walker, who was on a recent run. OSP, not when he was ridiculously old, but he was getting there. And yeah, man, he's only been to decision twice. He's getting these wins by finish. And he's proven, man, he can take a punch. He doesn't quit on himself. Another guy, that's why he's got a big fan base. Another guy who's got the right mentality to be a champion. And that's why he became champion. He does not quit on himself in there, man. He will go for it the entire fight. He will go for the finish the entire fight. And he's not intimidated by any of his opponents. He's not intimidated by Alex Pereira's power whatsoever coming into this fight. And I truly believe that. You know, he's expressed that multiple times in interviews. And I believe that out of him, man. He's got that the right mentality coming into this fight. However, there's no denying that he's doing something that we've never seen before, which, you know, coming back from an Achilles injury this soon. I think it's about 8 or 9 months fresh off the surgery. I just don't know. I don't know if that's enough time, man. I don't know if that's enough time coming back in the best shape, you know? Or is Jamahal Hill 100%? I do think he's going to need to be. Man, as for Alex Pereira, you know, we know he's chinny. And that's probably his biggest weakness, is he's chinny. Oh, well, obviously, the grappling as well. You know, he's a former Glory kickboxer. This guy is not world class in grappling, right? But he is learning from a guy in Glover Teixeira. So training with Glover Teixeira all the time, you're going to be improving in the grappling and wrestling. But Jamahal Hill's expressed that he's not going to be taking this fight to the ground, and he doesn't see a need to shoot a takedown. So I think these two are going to strike, man. Oh, man. I think this will be the toughest striker that Jamahal Hill has ever faced. Toughest by far. Toughest by far. And a lot of people are saying that they would be picking Jamahal Hill all the way had he not tore his Achilles, and had we been talking about, you know, had we been talking about this fight a couple years back, and or you know, before the surgery, whatever, when he was a champion. And I just don't think that's so easy to say, because yes, he is the more proven mixed martial artist, and there's no doubt about that. But if you're gonna strike with a guy who has the death touch, and you're giving him 25 minutes, man, I just think you're asking for a war when you know that the path to victory is right there, you know? So, man, it's tough. I do think that if you give a guy like Alex Pereira enough time, man, he's going to land that shot. Sean Strickland had that problem. Wow, man. You know, Jamahal Hill, I think he's the better mixed martial artist. How is he going to deal with the calf kick? I'm not sure. We know that Alex Pereira's calf kicks, he doesn't even throw them with much, he disguises them well, is what I'll say. He disguises them very well. They're hard. He's hard to telegraph when he's throwing those calf kicks, and that Achilles is not 100%. I don't know. There's so many questions coming into this fight when it comes to Jamahal Hill. It's been a long time since we've seen him in the cage, and now he's taking on the best striker he's ever faced in his career. He's not admitting that himself. I mean, he's very confident about himself, and that's the right mentality. I agree. But I do think that if you give a guy enough time, like Alex Pereira, who has that one punch and also will have the advantage in terms of just durability here, because we're talking about a guy who ain't dealing with no surgeries, ain't dealing with no injuries. I gotta go Alex Pereira here, man. I think he's gonna get this fight done. I think he's gonna finish Jamahal Hill. It's crazy to say. You don't need to be the better mixed martial artist when you're taking on a guy who is, in my opinion, not 100%. And that's also maybe what I'm basing this fight off of as well. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. It is what it is. We're gonna have to see on UFC 300. But I think Alex Pereira is gonna get that one done by knockout. And those are my picks and predictions, guys. Hope you guys like the picks. Let me know in the comments the toughest card to call, in my opinion, man. You can make the case for a lot of these fighters. I probably left some things out, man. It is what it is. I'll do a live stream about the card where we could break this down a little bit more. And yeah, man, if you guys like the picks, subscribe, tune in to my Instagram if you want to catch up on any fight announcements, live odds, or anything that has to do with the channel at MMA Fight Realm. The link will be in the description. I'm out of here, guys. Peace.